Express, the official card of the NBA.
DeMar DeRozan, your leading scorer in the first half between the Spurs and the Thunder. 12 points for him. San Antonio with a 9-point lead at the break. Welcome to the American Express halftime court. Chris Miles here with Brendan Haywood, David Griffin. Let's get right into it. Bryn Forbes, 0 for 6 from downtown, but the rest of the Spurs, 6 for 11, knocking down those open shots. And how are they getting them?
Well, for the most part, and we'll see here in the video, they're moving bodies and ball in a way that a lot of teams don't. You're seeing a lot of teams focus everything they do on isolation and pick and roll. And in this situation, it's a dribble handoff from LaMarcus Aldridge. Davis Bertans is able to get separation here, step out, because the defense is so keenly aware of LaMarcus Aldridge. And Ferguson's just late on the rotation. Davis is so big, he's going to shoot over the top even if a defender is there. And here they're just moving the ball. They continue to move it until they find the open play. 4 passes in. 5 passes, 1 relocation dribble, and Davis is wide open. And again, they're moving bodies and ball. The ball is moving from strong to weak, and OKC has not dealt with that very well. And here, when they do deal with it well, Davis has it rolling pretty well. And when you're 6'10" and you can get the ball over the top of almost any contest, if you allow him to get going, it's going to be a long night.
You definitely don't want to allow him to get going. And it's just hasn't been just him, the whole Spurs bench. The Spurs bench has been great. They've chipped in points. Bertans, Bellinelli, all those guys have gotten active and gotten involved and have really given the Spurs an advantage. Here you see Bertans is simply coming off for that screen right there, hitting that 3. Now Patty with the great pass. Bellinelli comes in, king of the off-balance shots, a nice little runner right there. Now we have Pau Gasol. He misses, but guess what? The bench is there to help him have his back again. Bertans with a nice follow. Patty Mills, another nice layup. So this bench for the Spurs has been very active. It's given them a lot. The starters have been pretty good, but the bench is what separated them in this game, and the fact that for OKC, Paul George and Russell Westbrook have really struggled from the field.
And doing all of this, by the way, on the bench without Rudy Gay tonight as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Paul George, Russell Westbrook, just 4 for 19 so far from the field. Why can't they find their shot?
Well, I think as opposed to the way San Antonio is playing, moving bodies and ball, OKC has really stagnated what they're doing. You see there, Paul takes a contested 2. The ball stays on the same side of the floor that the offense is initiated on. Again, Russell misses a contested layup. That's a shot he typically makes, but look at how many of these shots in this package where the ball is shot from the same side of the floor it was initiated on. None of those clips we showed you of San Antonio's offense involved that. It's a completely different approach to the offense. They're relying very much on 2 guys to create everything for them, whereas San Antonio is going to the concept that the ball finds energy, and Popovich has made it incumbent upon everybody to just play totally unselfish.
When you see OKC's 2 stars struggling, you think, okay, well, they're still in this game because you have a guy, Abdel Nader, 8 minutes, 10 points, no misses, Brendan.
Well, he's been very effective, and you see right here, there's a nice drive right there and taking it to the basket very strong. Once again, a quick crossover and floating with the offhand. So he's been very aggressive, and he's maximized his opportunity. When you're a young player in this league and you're trying to find yourself another great high arcing shot off the backboard, and you're trying to find yourself in this league and you're trying to find your position, when there's a night when your team needs you, when your stars aren't playing well, and they give you an opportunity, you have to walk through that door and take advantage of that opportunity. That's exactly what Abdel Nader has done. And they've needed all 10 of those points that he scored, they needed that to even be in this game right now.
I love this matchup because styles make a fight. These 2 teams couldn't be any more different in so many different ways. OKC's dead last in the NBA of number of passes over the course of the season, and San Antonio is just a work of art right now when they move the ball.
Certainly we'll see if OKC can get it going with Paul George and Russell Westbrook in the second half. When we come back, we're going to take a look around the league. Abdel Nader continues to shine for the Thunder. That was a nice game.
By with the man of the night.
Thanks, guys. Well, Dennis, after you lose a close.
So the Oklahoma City Thunder bounced back after falling to the San Antonio Spurs 2 nights ago, 122-112. And Dennis Schroeder, what you don't see there, the 4 steals and the big plays he made down the stretch, Brendan, for OKC, he was incredible.
Schroeder, Abdel Nader, they were both incredible off the bench. They came in with incredible energy, and Schroeder, especially in the second half, end of the third, beginning of the fourth, to the middle of the fourth quarter, he really brought some energy. He was the spark. He was the reason why the OKC Thunder were able to win this game tonight. That trade that they made, giving away Carmelo Anthony to get Schroeder in, it didn't seem like a big deal in the summertime. This is probably going to be one of those deals that we look back, if OKC makes a run, it's going to be because of the play of guys like Schroeder and what they were able to do.
Well, it seemed big from a financial standpoint. Yeah. It was a $70 million proposition. Oof. And at the time, everybody talked about it as though it was a cash savings deal. And I think you've seen now that Sam Presti and his staff had a really good understanding what Dennis Schroeder could bring to this team, and every night he's getting an opportunity to make an impact, and it's not a surprise that they've got Dennis and Russ playing together down the stretch of big games.
Are you surprised at how much of an impact he's had defensively for them? Because those were the plays that really stood out most this game against the Spurs.
I'm not surprised because he had the talent. It's not what he was doing before. And I think this environment is one that he's taken to. The culture there in Oklahoma City, the accountability that Billy Donovan has brought to that team obviously is something that Dennis is wearing very well.
Brendan, we got some Karl Anthony Towns, 27 rebounds, the most by an NBA player this season. 27 points to go along with that. Oh, yeah, and a stop on Anthony Davis in the final seconds of this one. Just an amazing performance from him. And he just seems aggressive. And this is what we thought we would get from him at the end of last season, beginning of this season. He's certainly out of his shell.
Yeah, he's taken over as the leader that they wanted him to be. You heard during that broadcast that he's starting to lead some of the other young guys as well. And the rebounding performance stands out to me among the many things that's unique right now with this version of Karl Anthony Towns.
I agree with you totally. He's having a great – he's doing great from a rebounding standpoint and from a scoring standpoint, and he's now the leader. I think that trade kind of worked out for both teams. Philly needed somebody like Jimmy Butler to score on the perimeter. And Minnesota kind of needed Jimmy Butler to be out of the way so that Karl could become who they envisioned him being, because it was just never going to work with Jimmy there. And that's not a knock on Jimmy. It was just he was in the way of the growth of Karl Anthony Towns. We're seeing him play a lot better basketball right now.
And certainly even for Andrew Wiggins, who took 21 shots. He was just 7 for 21, but down the stretch, he looked more confident and comfortable with the ball in his hands.
Well, I think for Andrew, it comes down to, once again, he had to adjust to being the third option when Jimmy Butler was there. Now that Jimmy's not there, Tibbs is no longer there, I think he feels a certain level of freedom. He now knows that he has more range and he has more opportunity because he's now the true number 2 option. So his role is more clearly defined as it was a couple years ago. When you're the third option, that's tough. You have to be the most selfless person, and sometimes that doesn't always work out. So I think Wiggins is more comfortable in the number 2 role. And I think Ryan Saunders will probably be a more mild-mannered coach, and I think that'll work well with Wiggins' personality.
Well, I think you saw their second-best player today might have been their bench as a whole. They outscored the Pelicans 36-7 off the bench. And with Mirotić now playing just his second game back after missing 16 games, and Peyton finding form, trying to find form after missing 31 games. He's only in his 6th game. It's unfortunate in the Western Conference that you say this because it's such an unforgiving conference. But they're now 3 games back in the loss column of a playoff spot, and this New Orleans team doesn't really have the time to find a rhythm. They need to just hit the ground running right now, and it's hurting them.
When you look at the situation in New Orleans, a lot of times the conversation is, oh, Anthony Davis, well, he needs to do a little bit more. But when you look at that bench, they only have 2 guys that scored off that New Orleans Pelicans bench. You can't expect to win games, especially if you're trying to make a playoff push. Like the Pelicans and the Timberwolves are 2 teams in that playoff picture. But if you're not getting bench production, that's going to be tough, right?
So how many people scored off the bench?
2. And they got 13 points total. It was 9 from Mirotić and 4 from Darius Miller. I'm sorry, 3 players. Frank Jackson also with 4.
Wow. Yeah,
So 3 players.
It's going to be really hard to score with that level of bench production because you sometimes need a little bit of pop off your bench, just something that can give your starters a little bit of a blower when you go to your bench can lift your team up. When your bench is struggling like that, that's not a good sign.
Well, what you really see that they lack, Anthony Davis had 5 fouls late in this game. And there was a situation where it's a 3-point game. Karl Anthony Towns gets the ball on the left wing and just rips and goes right by Mirotic. Well, that needs to be Anthony Davis guarding him, but he's got 5 fouls. They don't have another defensive big that they can put into a game to do anything to stem the tide against a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. They just don't have the depth of size right now for a lot of different reasons, and it showed tonight again.
Yeah, that's certainly an issue that New Orleans clearly has. And then flipping back over to Minnesota and looking where they're headed, Ryan Saunders now 2-1 as the head coach there. That's a situation where this time last week it was like, okay, they made a change. It seems as if this team, win or lose, they're headed in the right direction as far as where their mindset is.
Well, I think sometimes it's about, is everybody on the same page? And fair or foul, I don't think a lot of the younger players were on the same page with Coach Tibbs. And so if you realize that and your management going forward, then you have to get somebody in there that relates to those younger guys, can convey the message that you want conveyed from upper management standpoint, and then we can move forward with that plan. And I think Ryan Saunders fits that mold.
And you can tell they're buying into it.
Yes, certainly great to see Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis go at it.
So here's the scenario. Game on the line, you need a 3 to win. Who takes the shot? In this open court short, 3 expert sharpshooters, Hall of Famer Reggie Miller, Dennis 3D Scott, and Kenny the Jet Smith, discuss who they would give the rock to in the clutch.
Smith again. What a stroke for Kenny Smith.
Throws it across. Miller for 3. Oh, he backed it in. He backed it in.
Hey everybody, Matt here with 3 of the most accomplished shooters in NBA history. 3D, Dennis Scott, Kenny Smith, the Hall of Famer Reggie Miller, and so of course...
This is a shooting show.
No, of course.
I was trying to figure out
I want to talk about shooting. One active player to take a game-winning shot. If you could choose, who is that guy?
Steph Curry, or Kevin Durant, or LeBron James.
Curry saves it 3. Steph Curry goes to the corner to shoot a 3 and hits to tie it up. Shot clock is on. James pull up for a 3. Rainbow!
Any more?
To take a 3 to win a game.
I take all 3 of those. Even LeBron James, in terms of his ability to get it off, he'll get it off comfortably. Because of his size, strength, and ball handling ability. So he would get it off comfortably. He doesn't shoot with the same accuracy as those other 2 guys, but he gets a better comfort level at times than those 2 guys.
For me, active, if we're just trying to get a shot clock's going down, it's Kyrie Irving. His ball handling ability to be able to get to any spot on the floor and get his shot off, to your point, he's going to get his shot off. And he's one of the few point guards, well, there's a lot of point guards in the league, and can shoot the 3.
Definitely guys that I probably would have picked, but if I'm going with someone with ice water in their veins, need a shot, I'm going with Dame Lillard. A guy that can create his own shot, or you can put him in a high pick and roll, shoots with depth, can shoot deep, and if you foul him, he's going to make foul shots.
Does the answer change for any of you if I say it's a catch and shoot 3 to win a game?
Klay Thompson.
Yeah. Catch and shoot, I would add Klay to a catch and shoot. Like, it swung back out to him. I would add Klay to that for sure.
You know, it's funny, we were talking, James Harden.
Ooh, yes, to get a bucket, yes.
He could do.
Oh, my goodness, to get a bucket, yeah.
I mean, catch the dribble, off the dribble.
Off the dribble, he's
off the dribble, no question about it.
He gets to walk and shoot it. So he gets he gets to do the running man.
I'll make it harder. Let's go back in history. Any player who's ever played to win a game with a 3.
Oh, we're sitting right here.
Oh,
who are you picking?
No, there's a lot of guys.
No, I'm not. You could go last if you're not going to talk about yourself.
I'm gonna go with Larry Legend.
No.
To make a 3. He said to make a 3, right?
To make a 3.
To make a 3 at the end of the game.
Celtics have got 3 seconds. 2. Bird, a runner. It's good.
I'm going with Larry Legend.
I'm going with the guy sitting here, only because the moment for Larry is always the moment. For Reggie, he creates more moments, meaning he's looking for an opportunity. I think at times you hope we get down 3. You know, so there's a difference. But Larry's like, no, I'm not even going to let you get up. I'm going to beat you. He's waiting for that moment. And so for me, watching Reggie over the years, I would have to say Reggie would be the guy I would be. Like,
good looking, Kenny.
No, but and taking it a step further, with Larry, as much as we, love his shooting, he's not going to get open in that situation where you, and I'm going to throw Ray Allen into the mix, both of you guys are going to get open because you're probably the best running without the basketball, running off screens and getting open.
I'm going to put Larry second, though. I wasn't like,
Kenny, Larry's third. Ray Allen's above him. Well, come on now. But Ray Allen and Reggie Miller, we need a 3. Larry's not getting open. Him and Ray are getting open to get that 3 off.
Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
There's a guy that I would want to be in this mix because he's the leading three-point shooter in the history of playoffs over certain attempts. You know who that guy is, right?
Kenny the Jets man.
You know.
I was waiting for that.
You look at that.
That leads to my next question. You may have already answered it, but if in a theoretical world where I could play and I had to choose one of the 3 of you to win a game with a 3, where am I going?
We're all going to pick ourselves. That's how confident we. I mean, in all of our careers that we've all hit game winners, we've all hit buzzer beaters, so we know we can do it. So if you're asking openly, I want to. As much as I love both these guys, I want to take that shot first.
I would honestly say that these guys were better three-point shooters in this regard. That was such a big part of their diet. And for me, it became a part of my diet later on. But I had to learn to be that. It is like Reggie Miller, we played at UCLA in Pauley Pavilion and in North Carolina. We were like, guard him from here.
Right.
That didn't come into my life until about my 5th year, 4th year in the NBA. It was always part of Dennis Scott's repertoire, a steady part of that diet, the long ball shot. I was catching up with you all the time.
Right.
Now, I just still think I could shoot the ball. But I just know that you guys it was a better diet.
We all have different strengths at different times. Sure. But at the end of a game, to a man, we're all going to say, put the ball in my hands. Kenny wants those shots.
Yeah, one of the biggest
moments.
We were actually in the biggest moments in Rocket and Orlando basketball history. Hit a three-pointer to tie the game to send it to overtime in the NBA Finals.
He's been on fire and hits. He's tied the game.
But before that, this dude, he comes back and hits another one. Back to back.
Yep.
It was him and I.
You haven't made my job any easier.
Well, hey, how about this? Who are you going to pick? If your life depended on it and your family's life depended on it, and they needed a 3 to get them out. Come on, man.
I will answer the question. I've got bad news for you and my family. I turned it over before I ever got it.
I will tell you this.
If I'm sitting here and not there.
If you gave it to any of us, your family lives.